We all want to live happier, more fulfilling lives. We read books, we make resolutions, we try new habits, but sometimes we overlook one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for happiness: honesty. It sounds so basic, doesn't it? Just tell the truth. Yet, in our busy, complicated world, little white lies have become a common currency. We might tell a friend we love their new haircut when we don't, or invent a prior commitment to get out of a dinner party we'd rather skip. These small untruths seem harmless, a social lubricant to make daily interactions smoother. They feel like tiny, insignificant things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The problem is, these small deceptions are not as harmless as they appear. They add up. Each time we choose a convenient falsehood over a slightly more difficult truth, we lay another brick in a wall between our true selves and the world. This habit of untruth can become so ingrained that we start doing it without even thinking. It becomes our default setting. We say "I'm fine" when we are struggling, or "I'm almost there" when we haven't even left the house. We might think we are protecting others or making things easier, but we are actually creating a more complex, less authentic version of our own lives, one that requires constant management and upkeep. Think about how this pattern starts. It often begins with a desire to be liked, to avoid conflict, or to spare someone's feelings. These are not malicious intentions. In fact, they come from a good place. We want to maintain harmony and protect our relationships. The issue arises when we rely on dishonesty as our primary tool for achieving this. Instead of learning how to deliver a difficult truth with kindness, or how to set a boundary gracefully, we opt for the quick fix of a lie. This shortcut, however, robs us of the opportunity to develop crucial life skills and to build relationships that are strong enough to handle the truth. This normalization of small lies has a subtle, corrosive effect. It suggests that truth is optional, something to be deployed only when it is convenient or easy. But a life built on convenience rather than integrity is a shaky foundation for happiness. When we aren't honest about the little things, we create a distance not only from others but also from ourselves. We lose touch with what we genuinely think and feel. We start performing a version of ourselves instead of simply being ourselves. The first step toward a happier, more authentic life is to recognize this quiet habit of untruth and decide to choose a different path, one small, honest step at a time. The cost of dishonesty is often hidden, but it is very real. Every time we tell a lie, no matter how small, we add a little bit of weight to our mental load. We have to remember the lie we told, who we told it to, and what details we used. This creates a quiet, background hum of anxiety. It's a cognitive burden that drains our energy and focus, resources that could be spent on more creative and joyful pursuits. This mental clutter prevents us from being fully present in our own lives. We are too busy managing the narrative we have created, worrying about being found out, and trying to keep our stories straight. It's an exhausting way to live, and it steals our peace. This internal stress also chips away at our self-esteem. When we are not honest, we send a message to ourselves that we are not good enough as we are. We imply that our true opinions, feelings, or limitations are unacceptable, and that we must present a false front to be accepted. This creates a painful gap between who we are and who we pretend to be. Living with this internal conflict is damaging. It erodes our confidence and makes us feel like an imposter in our own life. True self-respect comes from integrity, from aligning our actions with our values. When we choose honesty, we affirm our own worth and build a stronger, more resilient sense of self. Furthermore, a pattern of small lies can damage our most precious relationships. Friendships and family connections are built on a shared reality, a sense of knowing and being known. When we lie, we distort that reality. We might think we are protecting a friend's feelings by telling them we are busy when we just don't want to see them. But what happens when they find out the truth? The initial hurt we were trying to avoid is now compounded by the betrayal of the lie. The real message they receive is not that we were busy, but that we couldn't be straight with them. This creates cracks in the foundation of trust, making the relationship feel less safe and secure. The cumulative effect of these seemingly minor deceptions is profound. They create a life that feels fragile and inauthentic. We might find ourselves surrounded by people yet feel deeply alone, because no one truly knows us. We are hiding behind a carefully constructed facade. The freedom that comes from dropping this performance is immense. Imagine not having to remember what you said to whom. Imagine feeling confident that the people in your life love you for who you actually are, not for the version you present. This is the peace and lightness that honesty brings. It's a release from the heavy weight of pretense and a step into a more genuine, connected existence. Trust is the invisible architecture of all healthy relationships. It's the foundation upon which we build connection, intimacy, and security. We often think of trust in grand terms, as something that is broken by major betrayals. But more frequently, trust is eroded slowly, through a series of small, seemingly insignificant dishonesties. It's like a slow leak in a tire. One tiny puncture might not seem like a big deal, but over time it leaves the tire completely flat. In the same way, each white lie, each half-truth, each avoided conversation pokes a tiny hole in the trust between two people. Over time, the relationship can be left deflated and weak, unable to carry the weight it once could. When trust is present, we feel safe. We can be vulnerable, share our fears, and admit our mistakes without fear of judgment or rejection. This safety allows for true intimacy to flourish. Honesty is the currency of that trust. When we are consistently truthful with someone, we are showing them that we respect them enough to be real. We are telling them, through our actions, you can count on me. What you see is what you get. This consistency is what builds a strong, resilient bond, one that can withstand the inevitable challenges and disagreements that arise in any close relationship. Without that bedrock of trust, relationships remain superficial and fragile. Rebuilding trust after it has been damaged by lies is a slow and difficult process. It requires more than a simple apology. It demands a consistent and sustained pattern of truthful behavior. The person who is dishonest must demonstrate over and over again that they are committed to a new way of being. This is why it is so much better to protect trust in the first place. Every small, honest choice we make is a deposit into our relational bank account. It strengthens the bond and creates a reserve of goodwill that can be drawn upon when things get tough. A lie, on the other hand, is a significant withdrawal, one that can sometimes empty the account entirely. So, why do we take this risk? People often lie for understandable, though misguided reasons. We lie to avoid conflict, fearing that the truth will lead to an argument or disapproval. We lie to protect someone else's feelings, believing that a kind lie is better than a harsh truth. We lie to avoid consequences, hoping to escape blame or punishment for a mistake we have made. And sometimes, we lie to make ourselves look better, to inflate our accomplishments or hide our insecurities. Recognizing these underlying motives is the first step toward changing the behavior. It allows us to address the root cause, rather than just the symptom. Choosing honesty doesn't mean becoming brutally blunt or tactless. There's a world of difference between harshness and truth. The key is to learn how to communicate honestly with kindness and respect. Instead of saying, "I hate that idea," you could say, "Thank you for sharing that. I have a different perspective on it." This approach honors both your own truth and the other person's feelings. It requires a bit more thought than a simple white lie, but it fosters a much deeper and more authentic connection. Practicing compassionate honesty is a skill, and like any skill, it gets easier and more natural the more you use it. It's about finding the words that are both true and gentle. Another powerful alternative to lying is learning to set clear boundaries. Often we lie because we have overcommitted ourselves or because we are afraid to say no. We say we have a prior engagement instead of simply saying, "Thank you for the invitation, but I won't be able to make it. I need some quiet time this weekend." Setting a boundary is an act of honesty with both yourself and the other person. It communicates your needs directly and respectfully. It also prevents the resentment that can build up when we consistently say yes to things we don't want to do. Admitting our limits is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of self-awareness and strength. Admitting our mistakes is another cornerstone of an honest life. We all mess up. It's part of being human. The temptation can be strong to cover up an error or shift the blame. However, a simple, sincere apology and an admission of fault can work wonders. Saying, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake," is one of the most powerful phrases for building trust. It shows humility, accountability, and a respect for the other person. It stops the cycle of excuses and deception and opens the door to forgiveness and resolution. People are generally more forgiving of a mistake than they are of the lie told to conceal it. I encourage you to start today. Choose one small opportunity to be more honest. Maybe it's admitting to your partner that you forgot to run an errand. Perhaps it's telling a friend, kindly, that you don't have the energy to talk on the phone tonight. Start small. Notice how it feels. It might be a little uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is the feeling of growth. With each honest action, you are dismantling the facade and stepping into a life of greater integrity, peace, and freedom. Living with truth is not about perfection. It is about the daily practice of choosing what is real. This is how you build a happier life.